how would you guys like to try a caramel cookie butter hot chocolate? Hey, you guys ordered the Blitzen so much at Strange Brew Coffee House over the holidays until Strange Brew made the Blitzen a permanent addition to Strange Brew Originals. Hey, it's cold outside, it's wintertime, you probably need a pick-me-up or maybe even something to warm you up. Go by Strange Brew Coffee House on the Strip at the University of Alabama, 1101 University Boulevard, and get you something that will warm your heart and your soul right here on the Strip at the University of Alabama. You are locked in on the Stingray Show, and coming up on this edition, we are going to dive into the week of college basketball that has been this past week and, of course, upcoming this weekend. Plus, we will touch on a little bit of the NFL playoffs as we are in the divisional round. We are going to be joined by Chris Lee of Southeastern 14. So, guys, we've got a lot to cover. So let's get things rocking and rolling right here on the radio.
Hi, this is Tim Brando with a reminder. Those of you on Tide 100.9, look out. You're about to feel the buzz of Stingray.
This is Stephen Ray, a.k.a. Stingray, coming to you live from Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
I'm Heath Hopkins. I'm here in DeSoto County, Mississippi, right outside of Memphis, Tennessee. You know, Mark, I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you feel that responsibility to pay it forward and give some kid a chance coming up in the ranks, kind of like Tony did for you?
Why do you think I'm talking to Stingray tonight?
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Look.
Hey, Stingray, here's the deal. When you get involved with Texas, it's like getting married to a stripper. and let me explain this. It looks good, kind of sexy on the surface, yeah. But then you get the baggage, you get the drama, you get all that eventually comes with it. And that's what you get with Texas, and that's what the Big 12 learned.
And Heath, any thoughts on our show moving forward?
Hey, to everyone in Tuscaloosa listening here on Tide 100.9. With the Stingray Show, if you don't like it, you better learn to love it, because it's the best show going today, baby. Woo!
Since 1999, residents of Tuscaloosa has depended on this butcher shop and grocery store. I'm talking about South's Finest Meats. With their specialty meats and fresh to frozen bulk vegetables, you can prepare delicious home-cooked meals all week long. At South's Finest Meats, customer service is their number one priority, and when you shop with them, you can expect to be treated like an MVP. Go by and check out South's Finest Meats at 3201 10th Avenue right there in Tuscaloosa. South's Finest Meats, the official sponsor of the Stingray Show. And Heath, with all of that, we want to welcome you inside another edition of the Stingray Show. Hope all is well. Hope all of you are staying warm out there. Yeah, because a new reinforcing shot of cold air is coming in this evening and tomorrow. Yeah, I know. And tomorrow.
I hate the cold. I'm sorry. Go on, Stephen.
And tomorrow evening, right here in Tuscaloosa, we are going back down to 18 degrees.
Brother, I would take 18 in a heartbeat. Stephen, it is currently snowing again at my house. Here in Northwest Mississippi, the Memphis Mid-South area, you know, we've had between 5 and 8 inches, depending on where you live in the area, of hard packed snow and ice. It is not melting. We have not been above freezing since Saturday.
Wow.
It looks like we're going to go a full week without temperatures ever getting above freezing. And it is snowing again at my house. We've already got, here where we live, we're around 6 to 6.5 inches. And it's snowing again.
So, Heath, let's go on ahead and start off the Stingray Show with our National Day of Today. And for anybody who has a local business, Small Business Day, today is your day on January the 18th. It is Get to Know Your Customer Day.
You know what, Stephen? When I was at the bank, another bank came and offered me a job, and they wanted me to be the small business director for their bank, and it was a large national bank, and I appreciated the offer, and I did think about it, but I have a heart for small businesses, and anytime you can eat local or shop local, do it.
Yes.
You know, And here's another thing, and I'll pass this along to you. And this is a big thing been going around social media here lately. Try to pay those people in cash. And the reason being is when you use your debit card or your credit card everywhere, and hey, I'm all about reward points too. I get that. But when you use that card, the bank's fees of, 2, 3, up to 8% that they're going to charge the business, what they're going to charge you in interest, it takes away the value of that dollar. But if you give a business a $20 bill, well, they can use that $20 bill to go buy from, their supplier or go do something with another small business in town, like eat locally. So if you buy a shirt from a business and you spend $30 and you pay them in cash, they can use that $30 and buy a meal locally, and they can use that money to pay their babysitter, and they can use that money to do whatever. That $50 or that $30 never loses its value. Yeah. It never loses its value. But when you use your debit card or credit card, you're taking, 3 to 8% away of value of that money, and it eventually disappears. And guess who gets it? The banks.
So, Heath, I understand that you and I will probably know who this is, but the Gen Z generation probably has no idea who I'm talking about. It is also National Winnie the Pooh Day.
Oh, man, yeah, Winnie the Pooh, Tigger and Eeyore and all those guys. Yeah. And what wasn't it, Christopher Robbins? Or
That's it. That's it.
Yeah. Wow. I haven't gone down that road in a long time, brother.
I haven't either, but still I know who it is.
It's kind of sad to see guys like Tom and Jerry and the Looney Tunes gang, Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd. Kids don't know who that is. Tweety Bird.
Yeah.
They don't know who that is.
So, Heath, on Saturday, it is January the 20th, and it is my birthday. I will be 36 years old on January the 20th, but we will not have a show that day. Also on January the 20th, it is National Cheese Lovers Day. So I thought with it being National Cheese Lovers Day, we would do our fave 5 cheeses of all time. Heath, would you like for me to go first?
Yeah, why not? Go first.
Okay. Now, this is not on my top 5. Okay. Sharp cheddar is disgusting because of the bitter flavor that it gives you. I am also not a fan of Gouda or Swiss.
Okay. Swiss doesn't bother me. It's not my first choice, but if you're going to have like a chicken sandwich, put a little cheese on it, I don't mind putting Swiss on a chicken and cheese sandwich there.
Okay. This is my top 5. Number 5 is going to be the Brie cheese. However, I did hear that Brie was the most unhealthy for you in the family of cheeses.
Well, there you go. Thanks for ruining everyone's day, Stephen.
All right. Number 4 is going to be mozzarella. Number 3 is going to be Munster. I love Munster cheese. Number 2 is going to be queso, like you get at a Mexican restaurant. And number 1, man, I cannot go a day without having some pepper jack cheese.
Nothing wrong with that at all. I love pepper jack.
So that is my fave 5 cheeses of all time. Heath, you're up.
My wife is a huge connoisseur of cheese. I'm going to be out. My honorable mention, I'm going to go with the Edam cheese. I don't know if you ever had Edam or not. Mississippi State makes phenomenal Edam cheese. You can basically only buy it once a year, and it's around Christmas time. And if you don't get that order in like late October, early November, you're not getting any.
Yes.
But that stuff is amazing. But my top 5, I'm kind of boring with my cheeses because I just basically put them on. I'm a big sandwich guy. I love sandwiches. So I'll throw it on sandwiches. But hey, you're not American if you don't have American cheese on your list, Stephen. You're a communist. Yes. I am not. I'm a patriot. I'm going with American cheese, number 5. Number 4, I'm going with Colby Jack. I love some Colby Jack cheese. Number 3, I'm going to go Velveeta. You went queso, I'm going Velveeta. Right. I love when you get the Rotel and all that. And Stephen, if we're at like a cookout or a church function or something like that, I will put that Rotel, that Velveeta and that Rotel on my hamburger.
Yes.
I absolutely love doing that. Number 2, I'm going with pepper jack. That was your number 1. I love pepper jack.
Yeah.
You can never go wrong putting pepper jack on anything. Chicken sandwich, bologna sandwich, ham sandwich, turkey sandwich.
Yeah.
Everything but peanut butter and jelly. You can put pepper jack on anything. And number one, hey man, I got Italian in me. It's mozzarella. I love me some mozzarella cheese. Mozzarella, I think it's the best tasting cheese that there is. Love that stuff.
So, Heath, on that note, we got to take our first break, and when we come back, we are going to get off of food and talk about the hardwood of college basketball, as well as a little bit of transfer portal news with Chris Lee of Southeastern 14. That's on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Stingray Show. We will be right back. Go get you some cheese for National Cheese Lovers Day.
Come and get your cheese.
That was great.
Now, this hour's West Alabama real-time news update from the Tuscaloosa Thread Newsroom.
It's a time of growth in Tuscaloosa, where leaders at TCH cut the ribbon on their new first-class pediatrics unit Wednesday, finally replacing a resource that was brought offline to combat the COVID pandemic. Nearby, city officials cut the ribbon on the new Pop Stroke mini golf mecca Thursday, marking the concept, fathered by Tiger Woods, officially open for business. Lastly, new owners are planning an all-day grand reopening bash at Tuscany Pizzeria in North Tuscaloosa on Saturday. For the details on these stories and more, get connected at TuscaloosaThread.com.
Get 24/7 local news coverage and sports updates when you download the free Tuscaloosa Thread app and sign up for twice daily email newsletters.
Citizens of West Alabama, have you heard the news? The Bank of Moundville, which was established way back in 1907, offers personal loans of all sizes, unsecured and secured, with competitive interest rates. You can contact them today at 205-371-2227. Once again, that is the Bank of Moundville, 205-371-2227, or go by and see them in downtown Moundville. They are an equal housing lender and a member of the FDIC. Do you guys have a lake or pond that you own but you don't know your fish population? Then you need to contact Honey Hole Fisheries right here in Tuscaloosa County, because they offer fish population analysis to give you a detailed look at how many fish you have in your pond or lake. They can also help you build the pond or lake of your dreams. Contact Honey Hole Fisheries and Jeff Bagwell at 205-799-0192 and let Honey Hole Fisheries design or create the lake of your dreams. Do you guys dream about owning a home or a condominium down on the beautiful beaches of Alabama, say Orange Beach, Gulf Shores, or maybe even Fairhope? Then let me tell you about First Class Real Estate South Home Group's owner, Celeste Hagler. She has brokers down there in the beautiful beaches of Alabama to help you purchase the home of your dreams and to live where you love in the state of Alabama. You can contact Celeste Hagler at 205-861-5698. Contact Celeste Hagler today to help you live where you loved in the state of Alabama. Welcome back inside the Stingray Show. Hope all is well with you guys. And now we are about to get to our very special guest this evening from Southeastern 14. He is our always correspondent talking all things SEC. Ladies and gentlemen, please help us welcome back to the Stingray Show, Mr. Chris Lee. Chris, how are things with you, sir? And I've got to ask you, did you survive the winter storm of 2024?
Hey, we don't just survive winter storms. We survive and thrive. There has been sledding. There has been, snow angels. God knows whatever else the kids came up with. But the sledding weather here has been as good as I ever remember. And that's been a lot of fun. That included.
Yes. And so how much snow did y'all actually get up there towards the Nashville area?
We measured about 5.5 inches in our backyard. I think some areas got more. My co-host said they got 9 inches. He's a little bit to the west of me. So it was enough to cripple the city for an entire week. And I'll be shocked if there's school Friday where we are.
And Chris, let me just go ahead and say all we got here in Tuscaloosa was freezing rain.
Yeah, that's what happens, although I think sometimes snow's easier to navigate than that.
Yes. So, Chris, I do want to start off by asking you about the news that broke yesterday, or I should say yesterday evening, about Vanderbilt getting 2 huge transfers. First off, they got the transfer quarterback from New Mexico State. But the reason they got that was because the former Minnesota coach, Jerry Kiel, was hired as an advisor up there at Vandy. Talk about both of those, please.
You know, Stephen, I never would have had the New Mexico State rebuild as the blueprint for what Clark Lee's trying to do.
Yeah.
But it makes some sense now. I mean, you were hearing midseason, and I think this is one reason you heard Ken Seals and A.J. Swan, their quarterback room, leave after the season. They knew that Vanderbilt knew that in order to get what they thought they could get done offensively, and look, it's at Vanderbilt, you're not going to line up and beat Georgia on 5-star recruits right now. It's just not going to happen. I'm not breaking new ground here. But what they decided was, hey, let's look 2 seasons ago. We won 2 conference games. Who was our quarterback? It was Mike Wright. And the passing part wasn't always the prettiest, but it's the threat of what you can do on a 3rd and 8 to keep drives alive and keep the ball in your hands. And they went back to that and said, hey, that might be something we can build on. So they knew they were going to go mobile quarterback. They hired a coordinator in Tim Beck who had one that you guys in the Yellowhammer State know very well, Diego Paiva, who upset Auburn. So I didn't know that they were going to go ahead and get Paiva. They went and they got Nate Johnson from Utah, who's probably even faster than Mike Wright was. No, the passing is questionable, but the feet are there. So now Vanderbilt's got 2 mobile quarterbacks. It's got the coordinator who ran New Mexico State system, and Paiva last year got this close to 3,000 yards passing and 1,000 rushing. So now they've got the coordinator who ran it, the quarterback who ran it, and they've got Jerry Kiel on staff too. Is now a special advisor. And I think he is one of the most, I don't know that underrated is the right word, because I think people know and respect him, but a guy who has done more with less than most people.
Heath?
You know, Jerry Kiel, very successful at Minnesota. Health issues came into play. Jerry Kiel did some super big things before the health issues kind of kicked in.
Right.
And, you know, if I'm not mistaken, this isn't his first go around through the SEC. I think he spent some time at Florida State. You know, I might have to double check that on Florida State, but Jerry Kiel's very well respected in the coaching world.
Yeah. And
you hit the nail on the head, Chris. When you say he has done much more with much less, is exactly who he is. I mean, he's a walking money ball for college football. He really is.
Yeah. You got the wrong Maroon ACC school. It was Virginia Tech.
Gotcha.
There you go.
But he's got, and he's also spent time at Rutgers on staff. But here's the thing, guys. He's got an above 500 record from coaching at Minnesota, Northern Illinois, and New Mexico State. I mean, and he's had some other stops too outside of the FBS, in which case the record goes even further above 500. But the guy knows how to win. Those are not 3 easy places to win. I don't know where you'd rank Minnesota in the Power 5 jobs, but it would have to be, I would think, in the lower third probably. It's not a huge talent base. You know, Northern Illinois is a place that people have won some, and New Mexico State's a place where almost nobody's won. Look, they had not had a winning season. I think they'd had one since 2002. He did it back to back at New Mexico State before stepping down after this last season.
So I want to briefly, Chris, transition to the NFL. You obviously live there in Nashville. Everything has kind of died down about the head coaching search there for the Titans. What is the latest that you can ultimately tell us about the head coaching position up there for Tennessee?
I don't know. My focus has been more on college. I am a Titans fan, but I don't cover them. There was a tweet or two this morning about who they were looking at, and I've already forgotten who it was. Look, I'm still, as a fan, I do this as a journalist for the most part, but I mean, that's my time to be a fan, having the Braves. And I'm still hacked off about them letting Vrabel go. To let your only proven commodity go and get nothing in return under this guise of, well, we got to move fast to get who we need to get. What are we out from that now? 10 days? Yeah. I mean, if your urgency to move on from Mike Vrabel's to get another guy, why don't you have your guy? Yes. There's a reason that this franchise, I guess, has stayed parked in mediocrity for most of the last couple of decades. And the one guy to get him out of that,
you fire.
They just fired him. So, yeah.
And Chris, there is a trifecta here because we've got some Titans fans, we've got some Falcons fans here in Tuscaloosa, and we've got some Saints fans as well. Yesterday it was announced that Jim Harbaugh interviewed for the Falcons job. It did not go so well, but he still interviewed for the Falcons job. Your thoughts on Jim Harbaugh and the potential of them thinking about hiring Jim Harbaugh?
I haven't done a deep dive into that, but what was the thing that came out? He wants a clause in his contract that he's basically immune from NCAA prosecution.
Yes, that is correct.
How do you on one hand sort of hold up your innocence and then put that in your contract, number one.
Right.
Number two, I don't know. When it comes to college coaches taking NFL jobs, maybe this is a crutch for not going deeper on analysis, but Nick Saban, the greatest who ever lived, was very mediocre as an NFL coach for 2 years. Patiences are thin in that league. A lot of it depends on where you are in the free agency and the draft cycle. To me, it's kind of a crapshoot.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to think about it. I mean, it feels like it would make sense for Jim Harbaugh to get out and take an NFL job, and we'll see what happens.
And Chris, I'll piggyback on that as well. Steve Spurrier did not do so well at Washington.
Yeah, I mean, and then you got Pete Carroll, who did do well. If you're looking for the guy that was the best combo of college/pro coach, Pete Carroll did very well in 2 stops at Southern Cal on the college side and the Seahawks. So, I think Pete Carroll wasn't probably in your top 5 list of greatest college coaches ever, although he did pretty well, but he's the guy that probably did the best with it.
Are you guys in the mood for community goods and great barbecue? That's what you'll find at the Coker Market, located in Coker, Alabama at the 4-way intersection off of County Road 140. Their hours of operation are Wednesday through Saturday, 11 a.m. until 7 p.m. And their menu items include the Midnight, which is smoked ham, smoked pork, Swiss cheese, Creole mustard, mayonnaise, and a pickle, grilled on French bread. That sandwich is absolutely amazing. Make sure you go and check out the Coker Market right there at the 4-way intersection in Coker for amazing food and community goods. So Chris, hold that thought because we are up against another break, and when we come back, we are going to dive into the hardwood of college basketball. That's on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Stingray Show. We will be right back.
Tide 100.9 Traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Got some congestion developing on northbound Highway 69 from 15th Street to Mid-Larry Road. It's an 8-minute delay. It's also back out west on Highway 82 from Jack Warner Parkway to Airport Road, 3-minute delay. An accident was cleared on McFarland Boulevard West near Rose Boulevard. With your Tuscaloosa traffic now, I'm Lisa Bakke.
Townsend Nissan.
How would you guys like to try a caramel cookie butter hot chocolate? Hey, you guys ordered the Blitzen so much at Strange Brew Coffee House over the holidays until Strange Brew made the Blitzen a permanent addition to Strange Brew Originals. Hey, it's cold outside, it's wintertime, you probably need a pick-me-up or maybe even something to warm you up. go by Strange Brew Coffee House on the Strip at the University of Alabama, 1101 University Boulevard, and get you something that will warm your heart and your soul right here on the Strip at the University of Alabama. Citizens of West Alabama, have you heard the news? The Bank of Moundville, which was established way back in 1907, offers personal loans of all sizes, unsecured and secured, with competitive interest rates. You can contact them today at 205-371-2227. Once again, that is the Bank of Moundville, 205-371-2227, or go by and see them in downtown Moundville. They are an equal housing lender and a member of the FDIC. Residents of Tuscaloosa, are you guys upsizing, downsizing, looking for college housing, or even relocating for your job right here to Tuscaloosa? If that's the case, then you need to contact Celeste Hagler, owner and operator of First Class Real Estate South Home Group right here in Tuscaloosa. She can help you with the buying, selling, and investment needs throughout the state of Alabama. You can contact Celeste at 205-861-5698. Reach out to Celeste again at 205-861-5698. and schedule a consultation to discuss your real estate goals and to live where you love in the state of Alabama. Hey. Welcome back inside the Stingray Show. Hope all is well with you guys. And now we are going to jump into college basketball talk. And I really want to get your thoughts on this, both of you guys, because, you know, honestly, to start the season, we were really, really surprised at how good and how fast of a start Ole Miss had gotten off into the overall standings and, of course, the SEC. However, Ole Miss has now started the SEC slate 2-2 on the year, and now they've dropped to 15-2. Chris, did we look at this team a little bit too early?
Well, that's hard to say. And I still think the answer on that is several weeks out. Here's the thing, guys. The computers never liked Ole Miss. It was beating some bad teams by razor-thin margins early. And computers are never going to like a team that does that, which is why Ole Miss has been ranked in the top 25 based on record, but been in the 60s, 70s, and 80s in the computers. Now, that was not the same Ole Miss team. It was missing a couple of key players who got cleared later. Also, new coach, new system. It takes some time for things to gel. So there's a lot of complicating factors here. But here's the one thing that's kind of outside that I think needs to be discussed. Winning on the road is really tough. Other than maybe Vanderbilt these days. I mean, LSU has played pretty well. And heck, LSU went and won at A&M a couple weeks ago. I didn't expect that, but you watch that team. That's another team that Jalen Cook got cleared late. Now it's coming together there. It's just hard to know in this day and age of college basketball. I always think that for the most part, I make my judgments on teams from about mid-February on. You see teams that are hot out of the gate. Teams get them on film. They get scouted. They take away the things they can do well. I think we're still about a month out from starting to form super solid judgments on teams. And in the meantime, you have the addition of moving parts at places and the home court advantage, which has just thrown it all into chaos.
You know, the Ole Miss team, if you had asked anybody in their fan base, like, hey, you're going to start the season undefeated and we're going to get you in the, ranked, they would have taken that immediately. Like, I don't care how the rest of the season goes. We'll take that. It's kind of been a long journey up there. I mean, Andy Kennedy was a great coach. You brought in Kermit Davis, who was from Mississippi and a Mississippi legend himself, and things didn't turn out good at the end of their tenures. They both had some high points, but, it turned out good. So Ole Miss basketball fans, and there are some Ole Miss basketball fans, they've been suffering. And so any kind of small success, mid-sized success, big success, any success of any size, they welcome it, especially when it comes to basketball. So with that, am I giving up on this team yet? No. Am I going to bet money that this team's going to be in the big dance? Absolutely not. Mm-hmm. You know, that's a stretch. But if you had told Ole Miss fans, like, hey, you're going to be in the NIT this year, they'd probably be like, it's better than what we've been getting. Okay. All right, we'll take it. So, you know, just kind of one of those situations. I mean, here's the secret to Ole Miss basketball. You've got to be able to recruit so hard.
Yeah.
And with the transfer portal, it makes it a little bit easier. You know, we had Doug Gottlieb on the show many times, and Doug said it best. When you have a home basketball game, that's basically an unofficial visit for everybody on the visiting team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You're showing out, you know, and you can cherry pick who you like off that team if you got enough NIL money. Mm-hmm. So that's not just for Ole Miss. That's for every single basketball team in America. When you play a home game, it's basically an unofficial visit for the entire roster of the other team.
Right.
Well, and let's look what they did in the transfer portal. Brandon and Jamal Murray, Alan Flanagan from Auburn, who's been there and seen it and everything, to your point. You know, and then they've also got a couple of big transfers in Sharp and Cisse. I don't know how many guys in the country have 2 7-footers who can block shots, but not many, and Ole Miss is one of them. You said you don't think they're going to the tournament. I wouldn't bank on it that they are, but there's a lot of pieces there to where it's workable enough to where if they're there in March, and if I had to guess one way or the other, I would say they will be based on their start and based on the assemblage of talent. But hey, hats off to Chris Beard for making it work, and the portal, as you hit on, has been a huge component of it.
Mm-hmm. Chris, is it safe to say? Because I think this is very safe to say, if Ole Miss goes 8-10 in SEC play, they're in the tournament. They're in the big dance. With an undefeated, you know, record and going 8-10 in conference, I think that gets them in.
I don't know. Well, let's see. They did get Memphis out of conference, so that's a win that probably means something. They did. I don't know that NC State's going to mean much. I don't know. To me, it's very dicey. And it's going to depend on teams around them because the non-conference schedule wasn't super strong.
Right.
So Chris, we talked about this off the air because I texted you on Tuesday evening, and I said that this was a must-win game for the Arkansas Razorbacks, and they eked out a 1-point win over Texas A&M, and Texas A&M was coming off of that huge upset against Kentucky. Your thoughts on Arkansas versus Texas A&M on Tuesday evening?
Well, it was a sneakily interesting game. I'm watching games on 2 TVs. The other one is Georgia, South Carolina, and I'm watching A&M and Arkansas out of the gate, and I'm just thinking, I cannot wait for this thing to be over and go to bed. Because Arkansas jumped out 20 points. A&M could not hit a shot to save its life. And I'm just watching 2 teams that can find a spot-up jump shooter who can nail one with any regularity.
Yeah.
And it looks like Arkansas is going to run them out of the building. And then the preseason SEC Player of the Year just puts this team on his back, does Wade Taylor, and hits a shot with, 5-6 seconds left to give them the first lead they'd had. You're thinking, Arkansas, this is a game, like you said, had to win if you're going to remain anywhere close to the bubble of relevancy. And that's kind of where they are. They're on the bubble of relevancy, maybe, if some things happen. And then they come down to the other end, and Tremont Mark makes a play to win it for them at the end. The game took way too long. There was a lot of physical play. But man, if you stayed up and watched that to the end, it was worth it because it was a fascinating game in the last minute as those 2 teams went back and forth. And you're right, Arkansas sort of playing for its season at this point, and that's one that it got that it needed.
All right. And Chris, I want to talk about another team before we go to break. The Mississippi State Bulldogs, man, they have hit a rough stretch, and especially the Alabama game on Saturday, where ultimately they lost that basketball game at the free throw line. Your thoughts on Mississippi State basketball right now as they travel to as they host Vanderbilt on Saturday.
Well, I remember last year that the scheduling folks gave State just a brutal run out of the gate. That I think State, off the top of my head, went 1-7 and ended up surviving. The back end got better. They won most of those games, made it to the tournament. This year, kind of similar. You wouldn't have thought that South Carolina would have been a challenge, but it was. As that team started well, Tennessee and Alabama anywhere are going to be tough. And then at Rupp Arena,
yeah.
I think Josh Hubbard forgot to pack his shooting last night. If they were going to have a chance in that one, they were going to have that. Didn't get it. But hey, a lot of teams lose in Rupp, and they got plenty. I mean, and the schedule does ease up a little bit with Vandy. But then, my goodness, at Florida, Auburn, at Ole Miss, at Arkansas, not easy. But again, the back half looks a little easier than the front half of that schedule.
Plain and simple with Mississippi State, they can win any night, they can lose any night. I have never seen a team that's so talented on defense, but if one or two of their shooters is off, it's going to be an easy win for the opposing team.
Yep. So, guys, hold that thought because we were up against our final break, and when we come back, we are going to briefly touch on the Alabama basketball team and get to the NFL playoffs. That's on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Stingray Show. We will be right back. Since 1999, residents of Tuscaloosa has depended on this butcher shop and grocery store. I'm talking about South's Finest Meats. With their specialty meats and fresh to frozen bulk vegetables, you can prepare delicious home-cooked meals all week long. At South's Finest Meats, customer service is their number one priority, and when you shop with them, you can expect to be treated like an MVP. Go by and check out South's Finest Meats at 3201 10th Avenue right there in Tuscaloosa. South's Finest Meats, the official sponsor of the Stingray Show. Your life can change on a dime, and if you are relocating for your job up to the Rocket City of Huntsville, the fastest growing city in the state of Alabama, you need to contact Celeste Hagler of First Class Real Estate South Home Group. She has brokers all over North Alabama to help you get settled with buying a new home in North Alabama. You can contact her at 205-861-5698. Once again, that is Celeste Hagler, 205-861-5698. Contact Celeste Hagler today to live where you love in the state of Alabama, even in the Rocket City of Huntsville. How would you guys like to try a caramel cookie butter hot chocolate? Hey, you guys ordered the Blitzen so much at Strange Brew Coffee House over the holidays until Strange Brew made the Blitzen a permanent addition to Strange Brew Originals. Hey, it's cold outside, it's wintertime, you probably need a pick-me-up or maybe even something to warm you up. Go by Strange Brew Coffee House on the Strip at the University of Alabama, 1101 University Boulevard, and get you something that will warm your heart and your soul right here on the Strip at the University of Alabama. Welcome back inside of our final segment. Our guest this evening on the Stingray Show is Chris Lee from Southeastern 14. And Chris, my final basketball question is this. It looks like Alabama has finally hit its stride right now going into two brutal games coming up. They've got Tennessee on Saturday and then the War Eagles next Wednesday. Your thoughts on Alabama's position right now in college basketball as they head into those two brutal games coming up?
Well, Alabama's the number one offensive team, according to Ken Pomeroy. The weapons have been there from the start. Mark Sears is having an SEC Player of the Year type season. Did hurt his ankle the other night and was hobbled and missed a little bit of time, but then Estrada picks it up and I think gives them 21 points. And then Ryland Griffin for a while just kind of took over. I know he's a supporting piece, but he's stepping up and hitting jump shots in the faces of defenders, about 3 or 4 threes in the second half, like he's their lead dog. It's tough to beat a team when you got that many parts on offense and is so well coached the way that Nate Oates has this team going. I think defense is the question that we've had all along. I don't think they're quite elite there, to say the least. But when you can score at the clip that Alabama scores, they are a sight to behold when it is clicking on all cylinders. And certainly in the second half against Missouri, it was.
Bama offensively has looked impressive. I think everybody knows that. But, I just kind of want to see what the schedule holds for them in the future. I'm not really down on Alabama at all. I think Alabama's on the up and up. They're not as strong as last year. You can't be. You lose a first-round NBA pick, unless you're John Calipari at Kentucky and you bring in, 6 NBA draft picks each season. You can't really replace that.
Right.
But Alabama, definitely strong on the offense. And, hey, offense sells tickets.
Okay.
Hey, you mentioned the schedule coming up at Tennessee, clash of styles. Tennessee will grind you in that building. Not a lot of people win. And then the Iron Bowl of basketball, Auburn in Tuscaloosa. Auburn playing as well as anybody in the conference. Those are 2 fascinating games coming up for them.
And Chris, here we go. Let's go on ahead to the NFL divisional round. And I do want to ask you, in parting, on Saturday, 3:30 ABC, Houston at Baltimore. Do you see DeMeco Ryans and Houston making it to the conference championship by going into Baltimore and winning that football game?
I haven't followed the NFL super close. I spend most of my bandwidth on what I cover, which is SEC sports, but you can't ignore what C.J. Stroud and Lamar Jackson did this year. But Baltimore seems awfully tough to beat from a distance. I'll ride with that. But boy, Stroud's been something else. And as a Titans fan, I kind of wish some of these talented quarterbacks were landing in other divisions.
Yes. So Chris, we always appreciate you joining us. We will catch up with you next week to talk more hardwood basketball and have a fun and safe weekend.
You bet, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, Chris.
See ya.
So, Heath, to wrap up the Stingray Show, let's go on ahead, you and I, and talk about the NFL divisional round. And like we were just talking about, 3:30 on Saturday, Houston is at Baltimore, followed by on Fox, Green Bay at San Francisco. And then, Heath, on Sunday, we've got Tampa Bay versus Detroit and Kansas City at Buffalo. Your thoughts on the divisional round of the NFL playoffs?
All those games are going to be entertaining. I don't know if they're all going to be good, but we might have a super fun weekend of football. About half the games this past week, or I should say this past weekend, were good. The others were just blowouts and boring.
Yeah.
But I said it last week, Stephen. I'll say it again. I love bad weather football.
Yes.
And I can't wait to see some of these games. Here's a fun fact, and I have not researched it, but I saw it yesterday. I think this is going to be the very first road playoff game for Patrick Mahomes. How in the world is that true?
Yes, I know. He's dominant, man.
That is crazy. Well, I wouldn't say he's dominant. I would say that entire franchise is dominant.
Yeah.
But, and I'm not taking anything away from Patrick Mahomes. He's an excellent quarterback, clearly one of the best in the NFL. But that just blew my mind that this will be his first road playoff game. I was like, that's intense.
And Heath, in parting, I do want to get your discussion on this. This just goes to show how inept of an offensive coordinator and a head coach Cliff Kingsbury is. Dude, he had Patrick Mahomes at Texas Tech. How in the world did they not compete for championships at Texas Tech with Patrick Mahomes? Come on, man. That just blows my mind, dude.
There's so many things. You'll see teams here or there that would have all these different players on it. And like, how did that team not win? We've seen that a lot.
right.
Over the years from just about every university. Like, how in the world did that team not put that together? But
yeah,
I don't have a good answer for you on that. I mean, I'm not a Cliff Kingsbury fan.
No.
I was a big fan of him when he played football. Especially there in college. He played for Mike Leach and threw the ball all over the yard and was dominant and led the nation in passing and was just highly impressive. And the only time I think we saw him is when he had a showdown with Eli Manning in Oxford during his college days. And Mike Leach walked into Oxford and just beat Eli Manning. And if you remember those Eli Manning teams, they were really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, Leach just walked in with his little tiny Texas Tech team and beat them with Cliff Kingsbury. So yeah, it's awesome to see. Well, let me take that back. It's not awesome. It's more of like in awe of how did you not win with Patrick Mahomes?
Yes.
There at Texas Tech. I've never been a big Cliff Kingsbury fan as far as a coach.
Yeah.
He didn't do it at A&M when he got hired by the Cardinals, there in Phoenix. I'm like, how did that happen?
Right.
Like, you weren't successful at college and they thought it would be a good idea to bring you in. Mm-hmm. And that didn't turn out well for him there either. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. He's got a great agent. How about that?
Yes. And the last thing that I will say is what in the world is going on, my friend? Because we talked about it last night on the Stingray Show. The Detroit Lions won their first playoff game since 1991.
31 years.
And Heath, they have another home playoff game this weekend. What in the world is going on? This is so unbelievably just crazy that the Detroit Lions have two home playoff games back to back. That is absolutely incredible and wild.
Yeah, first home playoff game in 31 years, first home playoff win in 34 years.
Yes.
That's just insane. That's just insane. The NFL, you talk about poor ownership.
Yeah.
Has Detroit finally put it together and put all the pieces together? Hopefully so. Hey. If you ever watched that documentary, I think it's on Amazon, Run Barry Run or whatever it is, on Prime, it talks about how poorly ran that organization was when Barry Sanders was there. They had this great team. They could have made a Super Bowl run, and they just started selling off players right and left. They didn't want to pay anybody but Barry. And they didn't want to pay Barry that much either.
So, Heath, on that note, we got to sign off here on the Stingray Show. We hope that you have thoroughly enjoyed it. And for all of the Alabama fans out there, tomorrow evening, we are going to be joined by none other than former Alabama fullback LaRon McClain to talk about his career at Alabama, also his career in high school, and, of course, his career in the NFL. This is going to be a dynamic show tomorrow evening. Heath with LaRon McClain. Any final thoughts before we head out?
LaRon put you on the ground, man.
Yeah.
LaRon would put you on the ground.
Yes.
If you remember him back in the day, I mean, just a fullback that did his job every single play and would put you on the ground.
Yes.
Didn't matter if you're the defensive tackle, didn't matter if you were the linebacker, didn't matter if you were the DN, whoever his man was on that play, he put you on the ground, put you there hard, fast, quick, and it took you a second to get up.
So, Heath, we are going to sign off. We will see you back here tomorrow night on the Stingray Show with Alabama fullback LaRon McClain. We will see you on down the line.